If you are thinking about putting your house in your children's names to keep it safe from a nursing home, stop for a few minutes first. It is one of the most common moves older homeowners make, and it feels like the loving, obvious thing to do. But it can backfire in three expensive ways that most people never see coming. And worse, it often fails to protect the home at all. So here are the three ways it backfires, and the simple legal move that does everything people think gifting the house does, without any of the damage. First, why do so many people do this? The fear is real and reasonable. Nursing home care runs over $10,000 a month, and families hear that the home can be taken to pay for it. So the instinct is to get the house out of your name and into your children's names now, while you still can, believing that if you no longer own it, no one can touch it. It sounds airtight. It is not. And the first crack in it is a tax bill that can reach tens of thousands of dollars. Here is the first backfire, and it is the one almost nobody warns you about. When you give your house to your children while you are alive, you also hand them your original purchase price as their tax starting point. That number matters enormously. Say you bought your home decades ago for $50,000, and today it is worth $400,000. If you give it to your children now and they later sell it, the government treats their profit as the sale price minus what you originally paid. That is a gain of $350,000, and the tax on it can easily run past $50,000. Now here is the part that makes it sting. If you had simply left that same house to them in your estate, to pass to them when you died, the rules are completely different. They would get what is called a stepped-up basis, which resets the starting point to the value on the day you passed. They could sell it the next week for $400,000 and owe almost nothing in capital gains. Same house, same children, same sale. The only difference is that gifting it during your life can cost them tens of thousands of dollars that letting them inherit it would have erased entirely. People give the house away to protect their children and accidentally hand them a tax bill instead. And there is a second layer that makes it worse. As the owner living in your home, you get a powerful break the government hands homeowners. When you sell your main home, you can wipe out up to $250,000 of gain if you are single, or $500,000 if you are married, completely tax-free. Your child, who does not live there, cannot use that break at all. So by gifting the home, you throw away two protections at once: the stepped-up basis and your own home sale exclusion. A gain that could have been erased twice over becomes fully taxable, at a rate that for most families runs 15 to 20%, before the state adds its own capital gains tax on top. The second backfire has nothing to do with taxes. It is that the moment your home is in your child's name, it is exposed to your child's life and every risk in it. If your son is sued, your house can be pulled into that lawsuit. If your daughter goes through a divorce, that home can be treated as part of the marital property, and she could be forced to sell it or hand half of its value to a former spouse. If your child runs into debt or files for bankruptcy, their creditors can come after the house, because on paper, it is their asset now. You have spent a lifetime paying this home off, and in one signature, you can tie its fate to your child's marriage, their business, their lawsuits, and their debts, none of which you control. Families lose homes this way every year, not because the parent did anything wrong, but because the child did, or simply had bad luck. Picture a mother who signs her paid-off home over to her only son to keep it safe. 2 years later, his business collapses, and his creditors find that a house sits in his name. The home she spent 30 years paying off gets pulled into debts that were never hers, and she burns through her savings on lawyers just to stay under her own roof. She did everything out of love, and it nearly cost her the house. Or take the divorce version, which is just as common. A father deeds his home to his married daughter for safekeeping. A few years later, her marriage falls apart, and in the settlement, the house counts as something she owns, so its value gets divided. Her father is suddenly negotiating with a former son-in-law over a home he paid for by himself. The house did nothing wrong. It simply had the wrong name on the paper at the wrong time. And here's the third backfire, the one that stings the most, because it means the whole risky move often fails at the exact job it was meant to do. People give the house away to keep it safe from the nursing home and from Medicaid. But when you apply for Medicaid, the state reviews the last 5 years of your finances. A house signed over to your children inside that window counts as a giveaway, and it triggers a penalty period, a stretch of months when Medicaid flatly refuses to cover your care, sized to the value of what you handed off. And the length of that penalty shocks families. The state weighs the value of the home you signed away against what a nursing home costs each month where you live. A home worth $300,000 in a place where care runs $10,000 a month buys roughly 30 months of denial. That is 2.5 years with Medicaid paying nothing, arriving at the worst possible moment when the home is already out of your hands and the savings are gone with it. So the very transfer people make to beat the system is the one that gets flagged by it. You lose the tax advantage, you expose the home to your child's creditors, you give up control, and you still do not get the nursing home protection you were after. It is the worst of every world. There is one more quiet cost worth naming: control. Once your children are on the title, you cannot sell or refinance that home without their agreement and their signature. If you decide to move, or you need to pull equity out to live on, you now need permission. And if there are several children, you need all of them to agree, which families discover, painfully, is not always easy. You went from owning your home outright to needing a family vote to do anything with it. There is one more cost that catches people completely off guard, and it depends on where you live. In many states, the low property tax rate you have locked in over years is tied to you as the owner. The moment you transfer the home to your children, the county can reassess it at today's much higher value, and the yearly property tax bill can jump by thousands of dollars overnight. California is the clearest example. Since a measure called Proposition 19 took effect, a home passed to children is often reassessed at its full current value, and the tax can climb steeply, unless the child moves in as their own primary home and meets strict limits. A move meant to protect the home quietly makes it more expensive to hold on to every single year. Whether this hits you depends entirely on your state, which is one more reason to know your own rules before you sign a thing. So if giving the house away is the wrong move, what is the right one? The good news is that there is a tool that does exactly what people wish gifting did. It lets the home pass straight to your children when you die, outside of probate, while you keep complete control of it for the rest of your life. In many states, it is called a ladybird deed, sometimes an enhanced life estate deed. Here is why it is so much better. Because you keep full control, the right to sell it, to refinance it, even to cancel the whole arrangement. The government does not treat it as a gift at all. That means no gift tax return and no Medicaid penalty. You can sign one and apply for Medicaid the very next day without a problem. And because the home only passes at your death, your children still get that stepped-up basis. So the capital gains tax that gifting would have caused simply disappears. Full control while you live, a clean handoff when you die, and none of the three backfires. There is a close cousin to know about too, called a transfer on death deed. It works on the same idea. The home names your children as the ones who receive it when you pass. It avoids probate, and it is not treated as a gift while you are alive. The ladybird deed is recognized in only a handful of states: Florida, Michigan, Texas, Vermont, and West Virginia among them, while the transfer on death deed is offered in a much wider list, though some carry a short clawback window worth asking about. And to be clear, none of this changes if you only add one child's name to the deed instead of signing the whole thing over. Adding a single name still exposes the home to that child's creditors and divorce, and still counts as a partial gift with the very same basis problem. The half measure carries the same risks as the full one. And if your real worry is protecting the home from a future nursing home bill specifically, that is where a properly built, irrevocable trust comes in, set up well before you need care. The point is simply this: there is a right legal tool for each goal, and not one of them requires you to hand your house to your children while you are still living in it. So here is the bottom line, plain and simple. Giving your house to your children during your lifetime feels generous, but it is usually the most expensive way to pass on a home. It can saddle them with a capital gains tax bill that inheriting would have wiped out. It ties your home to their debts, their divorces, and their lawsuits. It strips away your control, and it often fails to protect the home from Medicaid anyway. Letting the home pass to them at your death through the right deed or trust does everything the gift was supposed to do and none of the harm. And if you have already put your home in a child's name, do not panic, but do not sit on it either. In many cases, it can be undone, with the child deeding the property back to you, though that reversal has its own tax and timing rules and has to be handled carefully. The worst move is to assume it is too late and leave a costly mistake sitting in place. Take the deed to an elder law attorney and ask what your options are right now. Because fixing it early is far cheaper than discovering the damage after a sale, a lawsuit, or a Medicaid application, when the choices have narrowed to almost none. A final word that matters. Nothing here is legal or tax advice, and the right tool leans heavily on your own state and your own family. Because a ladybird deed is not offered everywhere, and the rules shift from place to place. Before you sign anything, or add a single name to your deed, talk with an elder law or estate planning attorney about your own situation. That one conversation, held before any papers are signed, is what stands between a home passed on cleanly and a well-meant mistake that quietly costs the people you love the most.